Hello, everyone. I am Mike McNichols, and I'll be your professor for IS 502, the Practices of Community. And I welcome you. I'm glad that we're all going to be together in this course, and I want to spend a few minutes giving you some framework for the course and some advice about how to navigate the course throughout the 10 weeks that we'll be together. Let me talk a little bit about the readings for the course. Over the years, and I've taught this course since it began in 2014, I think. And I've tried to choose the readings very, very carefully so that they're meaningful to you, not only to address what's happening in the course, but so that they're meaningful resources for you in the future. And a word about a couple of them. The text by Amanda Drury, Saying is Believing, which is a book about Christian testimony, at first glance appears to be a book about youth ministry. Well, she is a youth minister, that is her specialty, but the book is really about the theological depth of Christian testimony and the transformative power of it. She just happens to use her experiences in youth ministry as illustrations. So my students in the past have found it helpful, and I hope that you do as well. And then also a word about the N.T. Wright text, Simply Christian. Now, most of you have probably heard of N.T. Wright. There's not an assignment attached to this particular reading. You don't have to read the whole book. It's just selected readings. But it is there to give some biblical support and help to my lecture, A Theological Framework for Christian Community. Let me talk a little bit about how we're going to engage together. Your participation in the things of this course is vital to the health of the course and to you, because participation is graded in this course. And so taking part in discussion groups and small groups and so on is very important. Now, some of your work in this course will be assessed more on your participation rather than on stark performance. For example, the discussion assignments are designed to be kind of like the discussion groups that you would experience in a physical classroom, where we process ideas together rather than simply coming up with the right answers to everything. When we have discussion groups, that's not what happens. We explore and we push and we pull and we challenge and we think things through, and that's what the discussion groups are for. There certainly will be assignments where there are certain things that you do have to address. Now, one of the components of this course is a series of live, real-time, small group meetings that are known as vocation and formation groups. If you've taken one of these types of courses, the IS courses in the past, then you are familiar with these groups. There will be 6 to 7 people per group, give or take. The people leading the groups will not be me, but will be some trained leaders who have gone through training at Fuller Seminary to be effective group leaders and have been tested with other groups as well. They will help you explore prayer practices, to look deeply into the practices that are taught in this course, and bring you into various activities that will help you in the depth of your learning. You will meet in weeks 3, 5, 7, and 9, and like I said, they will be live meetings. And in this first week of our quarter, you'll notice that there's a line in this week's assignments for you to sign up for a group that meets a time frame that works for you, because it's important. We're coming from all kinds of different time zones, not only here in the United States, but across the world. We have people in other countries that have to pay close attention to their time frames. Now, do keep in mind that your participation in these vocation information small groups, or VF groups as we call them, it's important. It's a required part of the course. Participation is graded. Think of the VF groups as a kind of lab that runs concurrently with the course itself. I do not run the small groups. Any concerns you have or questions about the groups will be directed to your group leaders. It's kind of like if you took a science course in college, you might have classroom work that was led by a professor, but then the lab was overseen by somebody else. And that's kind of how these vocation formation groups work. It's a good way to think about them. But they're not the only small groups that we'll have in this course. There's actually 3 kinds of small groups. And they're designed to maximize our opportunities to work together rather than only in isolation. And so you have the VF groups, as I just mentioned, 6 to 7 people per group. But we will also have working groups for various projects and activities in our course, made up also of 6 to 7 people, probably a different mix of people than your VF groups. That way you get to know other class members. And then there is an assignment called an autobiography on community. And in some courses, it's a written assignment. You submit a paper about your experiences in community. But in my course, You'll do it live in a small group of 3 to 4 people, and it'll run over weeks 4, 6, 8, and possibly 10, where you tell your story. Everybody takes a turn telling their story on different weeks, and the other group members will give feedback and prayer, and they will be live, and you'll have to select the time that works for you. And we'll give information about and directions about all of this as we go along. You'll get a response to just about every single thing that you submit, whether it's a reflection piece on a discussion board or whether it's your paper. It could be if you have to submit something very, very late, you'll get a grade, but you may not get a significant response because we do have to move on. Now, some assignments, like the discussions on the book by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Life Together, which is a weekly assignment, will have limited availability, again, because we move on. So it'll end at the end of the week. If you have to submit late, you'll have a few days to be able to do that. But then it will disappear from view. If you need a personal conversation about anything, just let me know, and we'll arrange something, whether it's live or on telephone or whatever it happens to be. I want to be available to you to help as much as I can. And as in all things internet, especially here at Fuller Seminary, we do all that we do, whether it's questioning, challenging, debating, affirming, whatever it is, with civility and respect. That's part of the ethos here at Fuller, and that's how we conduct our courses. And it's good practice in case you get trapped in social media somewhere. You can teach others how to be civil and respectful. Now, most of the assignments that you have will give you they'll all have specific instructions, but they'll also have rubrics attached to them, a model, a paradigm that explains how the grading will work. And you can look at that rubric and understand how the assignment will be graded. You will soon meet Alex Riley. She is the teaching assistant for the course. We will both be involved in the grading. Sometimes she'll grade some things and I'll grade other things, but I will look at everything, even if I do not put the specific grade or the final comments. And we do talk about the final grades for everything so that we're in agreement on them. So you've got 2 sets of eyes on everything that you do. I want to talk to you about how the course is actually organized, and I'll show you some slides here to help you with that. First of all, as with all courses at Fuller Seminary, the course is designed to have 160 hours of work in total per quarter. So that's classroom time, reading, writing, watching videos, whatever it happens to be. Now, you'll notice if you look at any course description from the course schedule at Fuller, they all say for a 4-unit course, 160 hours per quarter, all of them, including this one. So you figure over a 10 to 11 week period of time in a quarter, that's an average of 15 hours per week. Now, I want to say this. I recognize that there are students who have taken online courses who say, there's so much to do, so many moving parts, and they're right, that sometimes it feels like busy work. And I get that. I understand that. But I want to say this. In this course, you will work, and you will be busy. After all, we have 160 hours of things to do. But it has not been designed to be just busy work. In other words, I'm not trying to just fill your time with activity. All of the assignments have been crafted to address the learning objectives of the course and, most importantly, to provide you with meaningful resources for learning. And I hope that is your experience. And remember that unlike an in-person course where we would spend 3 to 4 hours together each week, we've got to reclaim that time through group discussions and projects and lectures and videos and so on. And that's why there are so many moving parts. And as much as possible, I've set things up so that you will engage with one another and not just be alone doing your work in complete isolation. Here's some recommendations that I have for you. First of all, I recommend that you review all the upcoming activities for the week on Mondays. And I have the dates for each weekly module on Canvas so that you can see what they are. Better yet, if you can find the time, the weekend before, take a look at it. And I'd recommend moving things onto your calendar. That's how I do it, to make sure that I'm attentive to the assignments that you complete, that I jump right in and start grading right away. I have a pop-up on my calendar, or if you use a paper calendar, you can use that. Whatever works for you, but I really recommend that you do some planning to keep up with this, because when you fall behind in an online course, it's very, very difficult to catch up. It just moves rapidly. Some of you have probably experienced that. Think of Mondays as the day that we meet together, even though we don't. But think of it as the day that we would be meeting together to prepare for the week. And that's how you can think about this course. Also on Canvas, you'll notice that the way that I've organized every single week is like this. Here's a shot from week 1. And the first line under week 1 is the assignments and activities. So when you click on that, you'll see all the things for the week in summary. If there's a video lecture, you just click on it and it pops up right there on your screen. A lot of the things are links that are right there in that first line. There's also a lot of other things that are lined up. Now, week 1 has a lot of stuff because we're really preparing for everything. Not every week will be quite as complicated. But once you look at all these things, you'll find that each one does not take a tremendous amount of time. But it's good to look at that. Also, in the syllabus, there is a schedule of due dates, and you can look at that and help use that to set up your calendar as well. There are all kinds of assignments here. As we get towards the end, there's a fieldwork assignment. I give you 4 options, and you're to choose 3 out of the 4. I recommend that you plan ahead for this so that in the last week or 2, you're not running like crazy trying to get your fieldwork completed. These are things that you can do earlier in the course to save you time and energy, and so that you can plan for a meaningful engagement with others. We have online discussions, and I recommend that you engage as early in the week as you're able to, so you give plenty of time for others to respond and so that the conversation is robust and alive. For example, this week, you actually have something due on Wednesday. So right away, you should look and see what that is. It's a case study where you'll engage on a Google document, and I give instructions about that in the prompt. And so you'll want to look at that ahead of time and jump in and get going on that. In this syllabus, which you should read all the way through. Now, certainly there's things you can skim, but you ought to read the piece on plagiarism and watch the little tutorial so that you don't fall prey to some unintended plagiarism. That's often a problem. Look at the guidelines for writing, things like that, the late policy and so on. But towards the end, there's Addendum 3. And Addendum 3 will be the thing you'll go to more than anything else in the syllabus because it gives you the details on every assignment. So most questions that you would have about an assignment will be answered there. For example, in the reading reflection papers, it tells you what you should be doing in that paper. In the fieldwork assignments, it tells you all of the things that you ought to be doing. Finally, let me talk a little bit more about the course. As I said, I've been teaching IS courses since they were first launched in 2014. And this is, I have to say, the first time I've taught it online. So I've had to reformat all of the content so that it works for you. And I hope that will be the case. But to be honest, if I had my way, we would all be flown free to some beautiful retreat center for a few weeks. And that's where we would do all of our learning. And we would do it together with shared meals and times of prayer and all of that. But we're not going to be able to do that. So lacking that as a possibility, we will engage as best we can from all of our respective locations across the country and over the globe. And along with my friend and teaching assistant, Alex Riley, and you'll meet her during our times of introduction, we will work hard to give you timely responses and feedback to your assignments. And we have a job to do. It's our job, for Alex and me. It's our job, along with creating a robust and meaningful online learning environment, to give you feedback and to critique your work. And yes, your work will get critiqued. That's part of what you're paying for at Fuller. And it's your job to engage as deeply as you're able to with all of the learning processes of the course, and to work toward whatever grade you aspire to have by engaging with all of the requirements of the course. And while I know that everyday life is not put on hold while we study at Fuller, my hope is that you'll dive deeply into your studies, get the most out of every learning opportunity, because your time, energy, and money are important resources, and you want to use them well during this time in seminary. So I look forward to being with you. Bless you all, and looking forward to diving in together.